So it got cut off again, sorry. Um, so in the cathedral, this huge cathedral that was painted with gold and, very ornate and very beautiful. I'd gone up some stairs with my friend Margie, and there was a sermon going on, but I couldn't understand it. She wanted to stay there, and I was feeling drawn to, I don't know why. I think I was being guided. That's all I can say. I said, look, I'm gonna go down here, and then I'll come back and meet you, I said to her. And so I went back down the stairs, and then I was drawn down this corridor, and there was a staircase along that corridor that looked, I don't know, it looked like part of a construction site because it had rope. It wasn't beautiful and ornate like all the rest. It was just a wooden staircase with a rope to hold on to get down there. And I was drawn to go down there, and it went down and down. It was a spiral staircase, and it went down and down. And right at the bottom was a place that was dug out of a rock again. But the rock, whereas the rock in Joseph of Arimathea's garden, that had been white rock. Okay, sorry, I should have explained that. This rock was black, well, almost black. It was very dark with little speckles on it. I guess, I don't know if that's granite. I don't know what kind of rock, but it was black. And there was an area that had some perspex covering the wall, and there was somebody just praying and praying and crying and rocking right there, like rocking back and forth. And as they were walking, they were pacing along this wall and kind of rocking back and forth and praying, and that's fervent prayer. And there was definitely a feeling of absolute peace in this place. It was very dark, except there were two small candles in alcoves, and it was very small as well. And I was drawn to the back of that place, and I was drawn to put my hand on the wall, which was it was so low, it was the ceiling there. I have to keep stopping because my voice is cracking. It's extraordinary. So I put my hand on the ceiling, and even as I'm telling you now, the same thing is happening. I immediately started feeling tingling in my hands. In that hand. And then later I went to meet Margie. I'd left that place. I went to meet Margie. I prayed there, but before I left, I did pray there. And then I went to meet Margie. And all day long after that, this tingling, and now every time I tell this story, the tingling starts again. And sorry, I have to keep stopping because it's my voice is breaking up, and I don't know why. Now, what I relate this tingling to, because I had been looking into different kinds of healing. I don't think I've spoken about this before. Okay, so I have to tell this story as part of it. So a long time before all this, like years and years before all this, I had gone to get some healing at a church in Brighton, which I've already mentioned. It's where Margie lives. And the person who had been healing me, it was in a circle. They were all in a circle healing us, and they would move around. But one of the people who stopped to put hands on healing to me bent down and whispered to me, I am being told that you can do this yourself, like telling me I was the healer. Now, of course, everyone can do it, all right? It's just a question of wanting to, I think. But it was significant to me that she had told me that. So after that, I had looked into all different kinds of spiritual healing, alternative kinds of healing. I had done that. I'd done a course in Reiki, energy healing, many different courses in all different kinds of alternative healing, reflexology, the Eden method, just very many. I can't, aromatherapy. I mean, I can't name them all. There was that many. That had started me on a whole journey of healing, alternative healing. And I just want to say this, the reason I had gone there in the first place was that the reason I thought I had needed healing was that I was being mind controlled to have depression and anxiety. And of course I was being tortured. I didn't know that at the time, but that is what was happening. So anyway, going back to the story in Jerusalem, when I went to meet Margie, I just mentioned to her, my hand's tingling. I told her that I touched the rock and that it was when I touched the rock that my hand started healing. And all day long, after that, we just went to the marketplace and we were looking at these beautiful silk pashminas that they make. And they're so beautiful. And periodically, she would ask me, is your hand still tingling? And I'd be like, yeah, yeah, it is, And as I'm talking to you now, it is tingling, okay? But what I want to say is this. What I then found out after that, when I was doing energy healing on people, on, other people, both of my hands would tingle like that. So I believe that I don't know, was I being given the gift of healing or something like that? But what I can tell you is that the people that I did healing on after that all said to me, there's heat. They told me that there was heat coming from my hands that was like the sun. Okay, so look, I don't know. I haven't done any healing in a long time because I'm a victim of torture here and I'm totally isolated. But isn't that interesting? They have taken me away from doing healing as well, haven't they? Isn't that interesting? They've taken me away from doing everything that I have been called to do, like guided to do. Isn't that interesting? So I just want to say that to me, that is an experience about Jesus. That is from Jesus. Okay, that's from Yeshua. Because that whole experience was all about him. Okay. So I just want to kind of clarify that. Because I want to then tell the next, I think this is how it happened, that Jerusalem was first, and what I'm about to tell was not. Yes, I believe. Yes, it had to be because. Okay, so the next thing that happened, that experience I had was, I had bought my very first little tiny home, little apartment that was all kind of, everything was in one room, the kitchen, the lounge, it was all one room. obviously there was a separate toilet, and there was the bedrooms. There were 2 bedrooms that came off also. But everything else was just one room: dining room, kitchen, living room, all together. And gang stalking had started then. I had been mobbed at work, and I was being mobbed literally every time I left my little apartment. This was in a place called Penzance in England, okay. Literally, when I went out, there'd be people doing horrible street theatres. They'd be shouting from the other side of the road at me, mentioning things about my appearance. Like, I remember someone shouting about my very long hair. I do have very long hair. It's right down to my ass. But the main thing they were doing was following me close behind, coughing loudly, okay? Now, what that is, that's a torture called exploitation of phobias. But these gang stalkers have gone a step further with it. So exploitation of phobias is when you keep deliberately triggering someone's phobia. So, for example, if someone's scared of spiders or snakes or something, you keep throwing spiders at them, or keep, you keep putting spiders in their house, or snakes or whatever. That's exploitation of phobias. But what these people did is a step further, because I didn't really have, I kind of vaguely did, but it wasn't the phobias I already had that they were exploiting. They invented new ones, and they used an NLP method. Here's that NLP again, right? This is a theme, isn't it? It's an NLP method called sensitizing, and that's how they, with repeated triggering, they cause a phobia. And actually, the sound of coughing is the very worst one that I have to this day. And even to the point where somebody just clearing their throat. In fact, even just me clearing my throat triggers me, which is why I keep stopping. You see, they're doing something to my throat right now, and I have to keep clearing my throat, and that's triggering me. But I don't want it on the recording, because then firstly, because somebody else might be triggered by it, but also because I don't want to then listen to my own recording and be triggered, okay? So that's what was happening, and it was absolutely terrifying, okay? It was terrifying. It's as if the whole world had gone mad. Apart from the coughing, which was terrorizing, there were people just doing very strange street theatres all around me. Oh, they were also sensitizing me to other things. There was something that they were doing with their tongue as well, which is, they're doing that now as well. And that is something significant that I will explain in another video, because it's not relevant here. But what they do is they mimic. What they've been doing is mimicking me. Obviously, I had coughed at some point or something. In fact, I think there was an incident that they set up. For all I know, they were making me cough. I mean, I don't know. Everything they set up, everything. You think that things are random, but they're not. They are completely set up, okay? And orchestrated is the word. So there was these people just, all these fake conversations around me, people talking to me, and it was fake, and I could feel it. I'm an empath. This for me is an attack. That is torture to me. People, that level of fakeness, it's unbearable, okay? It's unbearable. I can't explain. And of course, I was, all my senses had been heightened, because I was in a state of shock, because of them doing this. This is a form of torture, okay? And it's actually a lot of different tortures all rolled into one. These people are evil. They're evil, period, okay? So this was on a day when I had, they had been doing this just relentlessly, and I had ended up, I think I was on my way to get food or something, but I couldn't because they had terrorized me so much. So I just ran back to my apartment, and I just ran in through the door, and I just collapsed on the floor, and I just cried and cried and cried. I was just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. In that moment, I really was willing, I wanted my breath to stop. I was trying to will my breath to stop because I didn't want to live anymore. I really didn't. And in that moment, I looked up because I sensed him. It was Jesus, Yeshua, and he was floating down from the ceiling. I really don't care if anyone believes this or not. It happened, okay? He floated down, and there was a sense of peace and just pure love. And you see, I'm tingling as I tell this story, and he just floated down over me. It was a bit strange because I could still see. He was kind of see-through like a hologram, okay, and but I could still see him, and he was wearing the blue. It was like a cream robe, but with the blue sash across, like that scene from the from the Sermon on the Mount. Anyway, that's. But I hadn't seen that then, because what I'm talking about is that series called The Chosen. Is it called The Chosen? So I hadn't seen that then. Okay, so I'm explaining what he looked like from something that happened afterwards, if you see what I mean. Timelines are complicated, aren't they? And he looked like Jesus, like dark hair, but with notes of red, actually, a little bit of red in his hair. And in the like red lights, kind of as if when the sun shone on it, it would be a little bit red, like that. And coffee color skin, and I think he had one hand across his chest, and he was holding his other hand up in some kind of gesture, but I can't remember what it was. And very much like you see in the paintings. And yeah, but dark skin, okay, not light skin, but definitely how do I say that? He didn't look like a black man, okay, but he did have dark skin. He looked like the paintings, but the skin was darker and the hair was darker than I've seen him depicted before. But his hair wasn't like tight curly like a black man at all. It was long, just like in the paintings, just like all the paintings, okay. And he just, his feet didn't touch the ground. He just kind of hung there in the air over me, and didn't say anything, and just stayed there a little while and then disappeared. It calmed me down. As I said, there were no words, but since then I've felt that he was just saying, kind of, fear not, I am with you, and also I think he may have been kind of warning me, you know what, you kiddo, you drew the short straw. You're being persecuted and tortured just like, my followers. So, you're one of us, actually, kind of thing. I don't know. This is just what I imagine that he was trying to say, because I don't know. But definitely what he was definitely doing was comforting me. That's what he did, because I had stopped crying. And, it's a feeling of, wow, like just peace and love. And wow, it's like the best hug you've ever had in your life, like, but without any touch, just, it's very hard to explain, very hard, but it did happen. It did. The last thing I just want to say is I think I said a quote from the Tao Te Ching, darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. I'm just being guided to revisit that, because many people have this idea that darkness is something bad, okay? But I just want to remind you of something. If you're someone who reads the Bible, just remember this. In Genesis, it explains that God created light. Because it's something I believe that maybe New Age people kind of put about, that, this idea of God is light. But actually, I just know, I know from years and years of meditation, all right? This is very hard. This isn't mind control now. It is very hard to explain this, because it's something you just have to experience. But I'm trying to explain it in a way that someone who maybe hasn't meditated. It says in the Bible that God created the light. That means that God is not that God is light. God created the light, right? Yeah? And it wasn't even on the first day, was it? I don't remember exactly, but I think it wasn't even on the first day. So when the Tao Te Ching is talking about darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery, it's talking about the beginning of creation, that before creation even happened. And that is God, isn't it? Okay. So I know it's a concept that's not easy to grasp, I guess, but especially when you've been told the opposite a lot. But isn't, now I don't know how to say this, but I just wanted to explain that passage is a very spiritual passage, and it's not at all talking about hell or anything bad like that. It's a very deep spiritual passage. Darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery.